One thing you mentioned with the marathon aspect, last year we saw this with David McCormack, where he really struggled in the non-con, and then he was fantastic in conference play. It was unfortunate that he had COVID and the foot issue headed into the NCAA tournament. And kind of the thought was this year that, okay, all that stuff's behind him, whatever was plaguing him. I know he mentioned just kind of overthinking things. He's a really thoughtful guy. And there have been struggles early on this year as well. I know Bill Self kind of called him out after the game on I think it was Wednesday or Thursday when they played North Texas. And then he kind of had a bit of a struggle in the game against Dayton as well. He finished off well in the last game. So you've obviously, played that direct spot, that 5 spot for Kansas. What do you think the conversations are like in the locker room with the coaches and kind of the expectations for what Bill Self is trying to get you to do?
Yeah, I'll say starting off, as far as the slow start and overthinking things, which it sounds like is what he mentioned. I can attest to that because I know how it is coming off of the season before. You have all summer, you think, oh, this is how it's going to be. I remember coming off of my sophomore year. I was playing well towards the end, started the second half of the season into the March Madness, had a successful, March. And I remember that offseason, I was working on turnaround jump shots. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a bigger part of this offense. I had in my head, what I had was completely different than what I needed to have in my head. And it took me half the season until eventually, it was before that, I think Oklahoma game or something. And the players and coaches were like, hey, just keep it simple. Like you have a very, very easy way to approach this. And it really narrowed it down in my mind of what I needed to do. And when I watched him out there, I think that, he can start to simplify it a little bit more. I know that when I would go into games, I was never worried too much about, I'm going to have if I have a bad shooting night, this could be a bad game or something, because everything that I was doing, I could control. I can control setting good screens. I can control playing good defense. I can control a lot of that stuff. And so, it made the game, no matter the magnitude or anything, feel a lot more simple and easy. And so when I watch him, a few of the things that I noticed in the dating game was small things, just like position, and just if he focused on just being a step over here or there, I think it could really benefit him. And I see it a lot on defense. There's a difference between a shot blocker, elite shot blocker, and then what we heard a lot with me in college was a lane protector. I wasn't going to block shots. However, if you started driving, I could cut off, come over and cut you off, get in front and protect the lane. And I think that for him, he's not a Jeff Withey. He's not going to be going and blocking every shot. I think it would benefit him instead to just try to work on just getting in the right position, just taking a step over, walling up, being in the right spots on defense, on offense, putting a body on somebody when somebody's driving. I noticed a few times they would do that 4 out. Somebody would drive down the lane or something, and he may circle around or do something, but his defender slides over. Like, get in the way, on screen, stay an extra second. Remy is so dang good from the free throw line and his pull-up jump shots that if you just set a really good screen, and David should know this, if you set a good screen and he hits a couple of those, he's going to be the one benefiting from it, because eventually the defense is going to have to step up, and then it's an easy dunk. And that's much easier than catching it off the block and trying to do a turnaround jump shot or something. And so just simplifying it, keeping it simple. Dad, how much I had to, every year was like rebranding myself. In my head, I had something going on, and then halfway through the season it would click. All right, well, I'm trying to do too much. I need to simplify it and change that up a little bit.
Yeah. One of the things that Coach did such a good job of was give you basically the keys to success, and essentially just gave you a checklist of just do these things and you're going to be just fine. You're going to help this team. And the thing I think that was so important and so great about that opportunity for you was that you were willing to do that. And that's why those teams had success was because of the fact that you weren't saying, hey, I have to get 20.
I loved
it. And you know how hard that is? I mean, the art of rebounding it's a lost cause. I can tell you that right now, because the fact that when I see somebody who's a big and that big gets 5 rebounds and is just totally happy that they got 5 rebounds, that tells me right then and there that that's not something that they really wanted to do. Those 5 balls probably fell to him, or 4 of them did, and he went and maybe got 1. But the fact that you're willing to like you said, I'm not going to take myself out of the play, and swipe at something. I'm going to go stop and stop him from even entering the lane, as he's driving baseline. That's massive. And guess what that doesn't do? It doesn't show up in any stat sheets. And so a lot of things that a big can do, it has to be selfless in some respects. It's almost like being an offensive lineman in some respects. It's like you don't get a bunch of glory from fans and all that stuff. There's no fantasy football offensive lineman positions, but or maybe there is, but not that I know. But you see what I'm saying, though. But so I just think you nailed it with just get simple, because you're surrounded by talented players when you're at Kansas. You're not in high school where you have to do it all. You're at Kansas, and you can just play your position, stay in your lane, and your teams could have great success.
And he's talented, very talented. And I've had a chance to work out with him a few times. Strong, he has a lot of skills. I think it's really just watching, and I wish I was in Kansas and could just sit down and talk to him a little bit, because there's a few things just on film, and I know Coach Self, Coach Roberts, they're going to be great at this and spend his next all this break going over it. But there's just a few things where he's right there. It's not like it's a huge change. It's just, hey, get one step here, do this. When I see him working on the post, the pass is coming in, he has great position, is fighting hard, and then as the pass is coming in, he's losing position, instead of just holding one more second, or, even on that last play of the game, he catches it and reverse pivots and is farther away from the basket. And, there's small things where it's like, use your size, use your skill, and just change a little bit as far as positioning, and he'll be good. And on that last play, it was tough, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did as a big watching. As soon as he caught it, the help came from the corner. And what did you always tell me? Yeah, the first place you look is in that corner. I remember Svi used to just sit in the corner, and I'd catch the ball, and then Svi is over there in the corner, and that's the first place it was going off the way. And I forgot who was in the corner, but that's just such a money thing, and he draws so much attention that I think instead of trying to make something happen, just catch it and realize where you're at, realize where the defense is at, get that out, and that could cause a bad closeout, all kinds of stuff. But it's just small things like that where if he does it, he can go from, you saw last year in spurts, he has that potential, and he could go from right now kind of being in the doghouse and all that to having a huge second half of the season. And it's not even close to the second half yet, but, finishing the season strong, and really making an impact on this team, which the team has to have him if they're going to, be successful moving forward.